right. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining today. We are ecstatic to have a Keynote Friday on the books for today. Christian Idiodi is here, a partner at Silicon Valley Product Group. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Christian, and we're going to get to meet him here in a second. But before we do, a couple housekeeping items. I'm going to move everybody over from attendee to panelist, so you should see your name pop up. Feel free to turn your camera on. We'd love to see our community and see people and have you up on the screen. As we go through, if you have any Q&A that comes up, feel free to put something in the chat box. We will address that about 30 minutes in. Christian's going to present for about 30 to 35 minutes, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. And when we get to that point, frankly, if you'd like to just turn on your video and unmute yourself, you're welcome to actually join the conversation and ask your question live and in person. We'd love that. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Christian Idiodi to the RVATECH Tech It Yourself stage. Christian is a partner at Silicon Valley Product Group. He's been a product leader for over 15 years, building teams in enterprise and consumer products. He's helped shape companies such as Career Builder, Merrill Corporation, and clients such as Starbucks, CarMax, and Macy's. He's been a VP of Enterprise Product at Snagajob. And before joining Silicon Valley Product Group, Christian was also the global head of product for Merrill Corporation. Christian also teaches product management and innovation at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. So he is local here in town. He is a graduate of Emory University and also has a dual MBA and MPM from Keller Graduate School of Management. Christian has also read a lot of books, as evidenced by his bookshelf. Christian, thanks so much for joining us, and I will turn the stage over to you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you. And thanks for having me here. I've been really impressed by the quality and integrity of the tech community here in Virginia. And so big kudos to Nick, the work you're doing, and Laurie and Lindsay and the team here. I'm excited today to really talk about product management, the role of product management. To some extent, this talk may scare some people that are interested in a career in product management or excite them about the possibility of what this means and kind of how this role has evolved so far. In many ways, the role of product management has seemed to just pop up from nowhere in the last 2 decades. And not only is in demand, but just the ambiguity about what it is to be a product manager and how to do the job. And this has really accelerated predominantly because of technology. And when I talk about technology, it's become mainstream, not just because of the use or the utilization of technology in our everyday lives, but because of this concept of digital disruption, right? And I have so many talks about it in our everyday life, the ultimate driver for it. Mark Andreessen wrote a blog post in 2011 called Why Software is Eating the World. And it's such a fundamental piece in our world today, but it's very true. I mean, the pace of innovation has never been faster. Speed and agility have become more important for us to survive and thrive. And the things we thought were previously unimaginable are happening in front of us. And I mean, whether it's self-driving cars or the use of AI in everyday life and AlphaGo and AI being smarter than humans in many ways. And when we look at our current crisis today with the pandemic, we see really that the companies that are thriving, the top best stocks of last quarter were Apple and still Amazon and Gilead, who is working on a cure for coronavirus. But you also look at the companies that have gone out of business, whether it's Toys R Us or J. Crews and Gold's Gym and Frontier Communication and all of these companies filing for bankruptcy because they were not able to innovate in a manner that they've been able to provide value in this crisis. So there's also this threatening aspect of technology. And we've seen it in history, whether it's with Netflix to Blockbuster or what Amazon has done to many retailers and with social and mobile and data and analytics throughout our world. Now, regardless of this narrative, the role of technology in many organizations is still very underscored. And when I say this, if you ask yourself, how do we describe ourselves? If you're working in a company, how do you describe your company? Do you say, I am an insurance company? Do you say I am a transportation company, a retail business? right? Part of that definition and how companies approach their business really talks about the role of technology within the organization. And when you describe yourself, say, as an insurance company, in some ways you're saying, look, technology is an expense, right? Technology is a cost center within the organization. We're going to fund projects. We're going to buy solutions using technology that will help serve the business. And literally, that's how companies describe themselves when they use technology. They say the purpose of technology or IT is to serve the business, right? And so this fundamentally is not true in the most innovative companies in the world, right? In the most innovative companies in the world, technology is the business, right? Technology is an enabler for how we solve problems for customers, right? And so in the ways we provide solutions to our customers, we have to use technology to solve problems in a meaningful way that work for our business. So this rise of the customer-centered way using technology has led to this demand for product development, right? This idea that we need to evolve a discipline around product development. So let's talk a little about the demand for product management and how that has evolved a little over the last couple of decades. So when we think about it, if you are using technology to serve the business early on, you probably run projects in some ways. You say, look, the company wants to build X because we think X is important for our business to grow and our business to succeed. And so we fund a business. So it makes a lot of sense that you will have a project manager, kind of an IT project manager. You care about the cost, how much it will cost. You care about the scope. You care about how long it will take. And you measure the success of the work based on the ability to deliver the deliverable. Did we get the project completed on time within the scope and cost? Now, as this evolved into kind of modern day software, if you're serving the business, there's a need to gather the requirements that the business will like. What does the business want us to do? And so we have this role in the early days called the business analyst. And it still exists in many organizations, but the business analyst was key to going to gather requirements from the business so that we can use technology to build it. Now, as we became agile, particularly with Scrum, there is now this role of the product owner, which is a role on an agile team. And to some extent, that person still gathers requirements for the business, but they're doing this on the agile team or on what they might call a product team, which is actually a delivery team. Now, the modern day product manager, product ownership is probably 5 to 10% of the job. And this evolving role of product management is really saying, if we are moving from serving the business to serving customers, meaning our focus is, to be clear and pointed about this, is we are using technology to solve problems for customers in a meaningful way that work for the business, right? So it has to create value, solve a problem for the customer, but it also has to work for the business. And so this is part of this evolving role and demand for this job we call product manager. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the product manager and what the job of a product manager is, because I think it's important that we all have the right framing about what this role is. Matty Kagan, who is the founder of the Silicon Valley Product Group and the author of the book Inspired, if you haven't read it, it's probably one of it is my favorite product book, not because it is in our partnership, but because it's been instrumental in shaping the way the world views modern day product management. So product managers are responsible and accountable for value. Now, to be clear about what value is, if you solve a problem in a meaningful way, you create value, right? And so the idea here is that the product manager, in some ways, is solving the problem in a meaningful way. Value, will they buy it or will they choose it if it's a free thing? And that's kind of one way of looking at value. And then viability. It's not good enough that our customers love it. It also has to work for our business. So if you're responsible for value and viability, to some extent, you're describing or determining what we do, how we use technology, and the decisions we make about what's important that we do right now. So you're accountable or responsible for results in some ways. And that's the crux of what product management is, or the product manager is, in some ways. Now, let's get a little deep on this, because I think it's important for people to understand what's expected and what a product manager contributes. So what does a product manager contribute? In some ways, the most important thing is you contribute product knowledge. Now, what does product knowledge mean? And I break it down here because I think it's important for us to truly frame what we mean by the product manager role. To some extent, the people that are making the decision about what is valuable, meaning what we do, I am trusting someone to make a decision on how I use certain technology resources or how I leverage technology, which, you know, is still expensive in some ways, to solve problems for customers. So this person is making a decision on what we do. I am trusting that person to make the decision because I believe that individual is contributing something I cannot get otherwise. And they're contributing product knowledge. And product knowledge comes in this format. One, a deep knowledge of the customer. The product manager is expected to be the expert on users and customers. And you're the expert on the user and the customer because you have a deep understanding of the problems they face. Remember, you're not creating a solution for the business. The belief here is that if you solve a problem for a customer or a user in a meaningful way, in exchange, they will reward your business or your organization with what you might think valuable, whether that's in revenue, whether that it's in engagement, whether that's in retention, in referral, etc. And so you have to have this focus on the users and customers and the people you're trying to solve a problem for, because you want to be able to define their problems, identify and define their problems. And then you need to be able to validate that the solutions you build actually solve those problems. The next piece is that you have to have deep knowledge, right? You have to have deep insights into the user data and the product data, because it's important that we are validating with evidence that this is the most important thing for us to do right now, right? And data beats opinions in many ways. And so the product manager is able to not just identify and define the problem, but validate the solution to that problem with evidence. Now, remember, it also has to work for the organization. So it's important that the product manager have a deep knowledge of the business. This is what when you hear people say the product manager is the CEO of the business, of the product, you know, like a CEO, they are meant to know the ins and outs of the business, how we make money, the dynamics, the important stakeholders and players. Now, they definitely are not the CEO. They do not have kind of the authority in that way, but the decisions they make impact the business and have to work for the business. The product manager also has to have a deep knowledge of the industry, right? This is not just understanding the competitors and the players in the space that they're in, but the macro and micro trends within their industry that affect the day-to-day. Because in some ways, when they're trying to decide the best solution to a problem, they have to be able to leverage technology that has just become available and support a team that is doing that. And then finally, a deep knowledge of your product. You are expected to some extent to clarify the name, to manage your product. It's kind of in the name, product manager, manage your product. And you're expected to be the expert on the decision history, how the product came to be, the inner workings of the product, how it actually goes about solving the problem. Now, it's because of this that, you know, Ben Horowitz will say, look, there are only two kinds of product managers: successful product managers and previous product managers. It is a hard job because the dynamics of product knowledge and what you're meant to contribute is super challenging. Now, look, notably, the modern product manager is the #1 path to CEO in Silicon Valley today. You know, most of the people that go on to be founders of companies and to be co-founders of companies all have a product management background. You know, also for the first time a couple of years ago, it became the #1 sought out position for Ivy League grads. You know, investment banker used to be the sexiest position everybody wanted to come out and be, but technical product manager has become #1 because of it. And it's grown 40% in terms of demand in the last 2 years. Now, there are more things a product manager has to be able to contribute beyond the product knowledge. If you think about what you actually need to do the work of product management, right? These are the process skills and the techniques that teams leverage in actually doing product work. Remember, you have to determine what is valuable and usable. But before we build anything, we have to tackle the risk. In almost all software work we do, there are 4 primary risks to the work we do. 1, value. Will people buy it? Will people choose it? 2, usability. Can they use it? Will they choose to use it? Do they know how to use the solution that you're building? 3, feasibility. Can we build it? Do we know how to build it? Do we have the technology, the talent to actually build it, the resources to deliver this? And then finally, viability. Does it work for our business? Can our stakeholders support it? Can our business support it? The process of product discovery is what we use to rapidly tackle those questions upfront. Before we ever make an investment in building anything, we actually need to know that people want it, people will buy it or use it, we know how to build it, and it works for our business. The second technique here is on product optimization. Once we launch a product or we have something live or in production, it is important that we continuously improve it and improve it rapidly, right? This is all the iterations. It might go from an iPhone and we had iPhone 12 coming out, right? Because while our customers do not stay stagnant, our markets and our industries do not stay stagnant, the demand or the problems to solve for our customers are ever changing, and we've got to continuously improve and optimize our products. Then product delivery, right? This is, the product manager has to be able to support product delivery. Your job is focused heavily on discovery, making sure we're working on things that are valuable and work for our business, but you also have a role to play in some ways in supporting the work of delivering the product. Remember, you're accountable for results, right? And then product development, understanding the end-to-end cycle of how things get out, right? The process of getting from an idea all the way to delivering value to customers. You know, the expectation here is that the product manager understands this is that 5 to 10% of the product owner role if you're on an agile team in some ways. Okay. Now, Steve Jobs would say, look, I look for smart, creative people that love to solve hard problems. That's kind of the DNA of a product manager. Now, it is a hard job because not only do you need to have this product knowledge and to have these process skills and techniques, you also requires a tremendous amount of emotional intelligence and people skills. In the modern day product work, if you think about the work I mentioned, the risk to a business, is it valuable? Can people use it? Can we build it? Do we even have the technology? The product manager has to be able to work with product engineers and designers to tackle those risks. They have to be able to collaborate effectively with the team to get work done. And this is not a handoff, right? I'm not suggesting here, a product manager, I have a great idea. I'm going to give it to a designer to design it. And then the designer is going to give it to an engineer. This is a truly collaborative environment where the product manager, the designer, and the engineers identify the problems that they want to solve together. They define those problems together, and they validate the solutions to those problems together. And they tackle all of those risks up front. They work collaboratively in some form of serendipity to truly come and deliver a product that is meaningful to our customers. So, team collaboration, an important skill set for this team. Stakeholder management, right? Do the stakeholders feel like true partners? Remember, it has to work for our business. I'm not suggesting here that product is built by consensus or by committee. Remember, you're not trying to serve the business. The stakeholder is not the customer, but it has to work for our business. So you have to be able to collaborate effectively with stakeholders. Think of your stakeholders as people that can say no to your product actually coming out, because they do have a stake in it, right? They are the people that are focused on ensuring that the business is safe. They are protecting revenue, they are protecting your brand, they are protecting the company, they are protecting the fellow employees, right? And how are you able to earn their trust and get their respect throughout this journey? Evangelism skills, super important and meaningful. The product manager has to be able to effectively share the vision and the strategy, not just to their team to inspire and motivate them, but also to the stakeholders at the company about why this is the most important problems we should be tackling and how we plan to tackle them. And then finally, leadership skills. Remember, I said the product manager doesn't manage anybody. And so, they have to do it through influence in a whole lot. And look, you manage an infinite amount of customers, an infinite amount of stakeholders. So it's important that you're focused on this. But, in terms of leadership skills, you've got to be able to influence and inspire people. You have to be able to communicate and motivate a team. And so people also have to be able to look to you for leadership, right? Especially in stressful situations. So an important skill set and element of the product management role is all of these people skills. Leah Hickman, who is another partner with us at the Silicon Valley Product Group, she used to lead product at Adobe and InVision. She says, I look for people that are intellectually curious, people that just naturally love to collaborate with other people and with plenty of grit. This idea of perseverance, because the work of truly creating value is hard and requires people that have a desire and passion to win. Now, there are arguably several challenges with the modern day product manager. And I think they are important to note or call out on this call. The number one thing I see when working with teams around the world is a lack of strategic context. Now, this actually in some ways is really a result of poor leadership or a lack of leadership. And by strategic context, I mean why? Why are we doing the things we're doing? For a product manager to truly have the autonomy and the independence they need to succeed in their job, to drive and work with a team collaboratively to deliver value to our customers, they need to have some context, vision. Where are we going in the next couple of years, in 3 to 5 years if you're software, in 7 to 10 years if you're hardware product, strategy. What are the things we're going to focus on? What are the things we're not going to do? What's the sequence in which we want to tackle problems, right? And you need clear objectives. What's important right now? Without that, you kind of have a team without strategy. You have different people running on different paths. Every single thing is important. People lose focus on it. We are making decisions without insight and data. We are always reactive than proactive, responding to competitive threats and issues and problems. And we guide our work based on all of the calls we got in from screaming customers or salespeople that are trying to grow their business or quota. The other thing I see are some of these I call this anti-patterns to good product management, right? One is where the CEO or the executives play the role of product manager. I tell everybody what to build. To some extent, some command and control executive-led or sales leads the pipe, right? I know the customer very well. I'm talking to customers or marketing. We are going to tell you what to build. To some extent, that's still the same old project-based model where you're serving the business. Remember, your stakeholders are internal people are not your customers. We cannot even depend on our customers to tell us what to build, let alone depend on our executives and our leaders to tell us what to build. They don't know what's possible with technology. So it's important for this role to have a deep understanding of the customer, because that's how you lead. The second thing I see also is, kind of two people playing one role. So you kind of have teams that have a product owner and a product manager, or directors of product or group product managers, people in the same role, or business owner and product manager. I'm the business owner and I'm the product manager. Okay, great. So who tells us what's important and what's valuable? You know, in some other cases, you see one person playing two roles, where the product manager plays the role of project manager as well, or delivery manager. In some cases, I just described a job that is challenging and hard. And so it's important that the product manager focuses on what's valuable and viable for the business and supports the team in ensuring that we're tackling the risk before we build anything. Now, when this happens, often the biggest challenge I see is time management for product managers. By Joe, you watch teams getting sucked into this thing we call meetings. You know, and the interesting point about this is I'm working with teams now in this new era where we're doing everything via Zoom or Skype or video calls. And I would think, oh goodness, this should help. You know, maybe we'll have less meetings because, you know, people used to go into the office and say, what meetings do I have today? And, you know, I cannot find a product manager that can resist a meeting with the name of their product in the title. If you're talking about your product, they have to be there. And they spend all of their time sucked into meetings, you know, just hours and hours a day. If you think about it, you know, your time should be spent understanding the problem, because, you know, if we don't understand the problem, I'm not certain our solution to the problem will be meaningful. Well, now that we understand the problem, then the other part of your time should be spent truly thinking about the meaningful solution to that problem. That requires some focused time to do some meaningful work collaboratively with your designer and your engineers, and then you have to get your stakeholders and the business along the journey. There are not a lot of meetings that meaningful work like I described will come out from, right? So we always tell product managers you need about 4 hours of dedicated product time a day. And unfortunately, you find that most people do that between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. at night, because that's the only time they have. But it's one of the things that I think truly challenge the modern product manager is finding this healthy time and balance to do meaningful product work. They also get suckered into project management a whole lot. Well, I can control what I can control, and I can just tell the engineer what to do, and I can write stories, and I can be in Scrum meetings and detect the board. And those things truly take away from the value of the role. And that's why I spend time describing what the product manager should contribute and what's expected there. The other piece I see is really around this empowered product team. And to be clear about what I mean by an empowered product team, you know, this team is cross-functional. It's not just a product manager, a product owner on their own with engineers. They have a designer, they have an engineering leader that partners in discovery. They are given problems to solve. They are not told what to do. They are not said, go build X. They are said, you know, they are given a problem. We want to grow our business, or we want to improve customer engagement by X, because improving customer engagement improves the drivers of X and leads to this success. And they are given the autonomy or the freedom to think about ways to solve that problem. And they are measured their ability to get to those outcomes. Absent of that, this team is truly not empowered, and you're like a feature factory. And you have a team of mercenaries, not missionaries. They don't understand why we're doing what we're doing. They are measured on output and not on outcome. And then finally, coaching. This one has really been a pain point of mine for a couple of years, because I just mentioned the kinds of people that become product manager. People look for smart, creative people that love to solve problems. You know, they're self-driven and they're passionate. And so often people just leave them alone. They can figure it out on their own. They will learn the hard way, or they don't need support. In many ways, there's such a big gap in coaching and developing product managers, in being able to help them. I talked about product knowledge. I talked about process skills. I talked about people skills, in truly helping a product manager grow and evolve in their career. And there's if there's a demand for product managers in the world, there's even a bigger demand for true product leaders and managers of product managers that can truly help coach and grow and evolve a generation of product managers. Okay, so last point here, people ask me about getting into product management or getting better in product management. Yeah, unfortunately, I have not seen a single program or class. Now I know there's a big boom of it. Harvard has programs, Carnegie Mellon has programs, NYU, schools, Stanford, they're now coming up with many programs of masters in product management, in product innovation, bachelor's degrees, concentrations, etc. I have not found a single product program or academic program that spits out amazing product managers. Now, if you're interested in the academic classes that I recommend them just because of what the work is. I say, look, go take an intro to computer programming class. You don't need to be special about this. You can go online and take a Coursera class or an online class. Why? Because you're working with engineers. And part of your job is to understand how an engineer translates business requirements into technology or creates value from it. It gives you an appreciation for the work that they have to do, right? And you will love the fact that the emerging trends in technology, it gets you kind of technically curious, and you get a technology mindset. I love that for people. The other one is business acumen. This one pisses off lots of executives when they're talking to a product person and they're like, yes, this will affect our profit margin or EBITDA. And the product manager is like, I don't know what they mean by that, right? You've got to remember, it has to work for the business. So if you don't know how the problems you're solving for customers impact the metrics or the KPIs that are important to your business, then you truly cannot have a meaningful conversation within the business. And then I'm loving, intro to data and analytics and statistics. These have become foundational for all of these emerging trends we're seeing with AI and machine learning. Because if you don't, you want to understand how applied mathematics and data analytics have all become important elements, and that mindset of being able to make decisions based on data. Finally, I've been joking about this. If to some extent I haven't proven that this is a hard job, but also a rewarding job, boy, you need to have some self-management, self-balance. I love this happiness class that has been going around. Yale has one, and go do those classes. This is one of those funny, stressful environments. When you are in the job, you will not have time to figure that out. And not only do you have to know how to self-manage, you have to be able to guide a team through difficult situations. There are all of those dynamics, and being able to ground yourself in truly what it means to delight in your work and why your work is meaningful will be super important. Okay, some traits of good product managers. This is not comprehensive by any means, but often people ask me, what do I look for when I'm hiring product managers? Kind of, how do I better myself? To some extent, most of the product managers and leaders I've met today, I don't think I've met a single one that has a degree in product management or actually started their career off in product management. So there's not a straight career path to being a product manager. I don't also look heavily at background a whole lot when I hire product managers. I just mentioned, you have to know the customer, the industry, the business, the data. Those things exist at my company. So it's great you might have industry experience, but you don't have my company's perspective of that experience. It's great you might know my customer, but you don't know it from my perspective and the problems I'm solving. So most of those things I recognize I have to train a product manager on when they join a company. So most of the things I look for are most of the interpersonal skills and the core competencies, like emotional intelligence. Man, do you even care about people? Do you love solving problems in a meaningful way? Can you empathize not just with customers, but with stakeholders that are working every day to protect company, revenue, brand, and our employees? Can you manage relationships effectively, multiple relationships, and collaborate effectively? Do you have some self-awareness? Do you know the things you don't know? And are you eager to know the things that you don't know too as well? And how do you manage yourself through that process? So, the best product managers that I work with have learned how to do product management from great product leaders. And they have been coached and supported through their career in doing that. But at the core of what they are, I see some of these core competencies. Okay, so I'll leave you with kind of Steve Jobs' quote here on, look, we don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. We hire smart people to tell us what's possible. To some extent, I've reinforced that the product manager role is a role for what people consider smart people in some ways. It's kind of an ambiguous term, but the idea of the empowered team is that when companies invest in a product management discipline, they are bringing on smart people onto a team to tell us what's possible, to solve problems for our customers in a meaningful way. All right. Questions, and Nick, I'll turn it on to you guys. I know I ran through a lot of this. This is probably something that could be a whole semester-long class on product management to go deeper. But it's important that I leave enough time for your questions or thoughts you might have here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Christian. We've got several questions queued up here. And so I'm going to actually call on some folks to kind of go live here and ask directly to you, Christian, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right. So Bill Adams, you're up first. Bill, are you still on the call here? Turn it over to Bill Adams. All right. Maybe we'll wait for Bill to get queued up and we will move over to Michael Kurz. Michael, do you have a question for Christian?
Yes, Christian, hi. Thanks again so much. This was an excellent presentation about product managers and their job. Really liked it. I myself was a technical product manager and made the transition into marketing as a global marketing director. My question for you is, in modern organizations, how do you see the interface between product managers and marketing? Where's the handshake?
It's a good question. And by marketing, are you talking traditional marketing or product marketing?
I mean product marketing.
Yeah. And so to kind of clarify those roles, often where the ambiguity or challenge comes in is often you find teams in which the marketing group or the product marketing group says, look, I am bringing knowledge of the customer. I know what's going on. So the product team should do what we say. Typically, I always tell teams, when I work with teams, I look for what I call who has the power within the organization. And by power, I mean who influences a lot of the decisions in terms of what we do. Often the people that influence the decisions are the people that are perceived to have the best knowledge of the customer, right? It's like, you see startups and the CEO or the founder tells people what to do. They can, because there was the day it was just me and I knew all the problems the customers had. So for a long time, I just tell people what to do. Marketing teams, when they spend time, I did market research. I did all of these insights. And so I'm bringing knowledge about the customer to you. Or sales-led. I spend all the time with customers every day. You got to listen to me. I know what they want. So what often drags that dynamic is when the product marketing team is perceived to know more about the customer than product management. The product manager has to contribute more to the business in terms of being the expert on the users and customers. The dynamic between product marketing and product management should be an exciting one, because the product marketing team helps you position your product for success and helps you to go to market effectively after you've launched the product. Yeah. The product manager is determining, should we even do this in the first place? And what is the best solution to this problem? The product marketing team is saying, all right, we've done it. How are we going to position it to capture the market or all of the people you've solved this problem for? And what's the right timing? What's the right sequence? What's the right approach? The right messaging? How do we support the internal teams to do it? You've got to, they are key true partners. They are true stakeholders. They are true allies, but to change the dynamic, you have to know more about the customers than they do. If not, why not? I mean, if I'm a CEO and somebody comes to me, I'm like, yeah, I like you. You're a great guy, Michael, but you don't know anything about the customers. The marketing team does. Why should I trust your decision around it? Change that dynamic with a true deep understanding of the customer and the business, and the marketing team will love you for it.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Christian. And moving back to Bill. Bill, are you on the line now?
Yes, I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. That mute button does wonders. So my question is, as a startup business owner, someone who sees that I am going to have to transition from being in the role of product manager to hiring a product manager and transitioning what I know, what I'm passionate about to that person. Two questions come from that. What's a good source for finding good product managers. And by the way, I love your presentation. You hit on all the spots that I think everybody else misses. It's not just about the product, it's about everything around the product. So
Yeah.
it's a good source for finding that kind of person. And then what do you have for transitioning the knowledge and the passion, probably the passion more than anything, because
That's right.
that's a baby. How do you
Yes.
transition that passion to the new person?
Yes, well, great, really great questions, Bill. And I mean, it's probably a multi-million-dollar question. What's a good source? I'm sure like every recruiter wants to hear this answer. Like, what's the magical place? Where are they hiding? And what kind of rock do we lift up to find great product managers? I mentioned a couple of things that, you know, unfortunately, great product managers come from great product leaders that have been coached by great product leaders. There are two ways I use personally. It's, you know, to answer your question pointedly, there's not a single best source. But for me, I do a couple of things. One, I look at the most innovative companies, the companies you've come to admire as being truly successful at building products or consistently innovative. And I find people that might have experience there. I always start with leadership, particularly because a good, strong product leader can coach and equip other people effectively. And mentor, you know, actually different from a mentor, truly coaching and managing them to do the job. I find products that I love, that I think are amazing, and I find people that have worked on them. You're right. So I mean, that's what I do personally. Like, I look for the companies I admire or products that I truly love. I'm looking at the companies I admire. I find leaders because I want them to reinforce some of those values. I look for products I love, and I appreciate the thinking that went into it, and I find people that have done that. Now, being on conversations like this help. Networking truly helps. It is important that you do not outsource this role, the recruiting function of it. Not because the recruiters cannot help you tap into multiple sources, but you have to take it personally to find this person. Because to the extent that you're looking at what some people might call fit or company fit or cultural fit, I talked about the things to do this job well. Those traits of you know, emotional intelligence and relationship management, and whether it's negotiation, business skills, and self-awareness, and curiosity, and all of those things. You want to be invested in that process. And if you do that early, you are hiring somebody onto your team that you can start to transition this to. I am personally, I don't like to motivate people in the sense of self-motivating them. You should be excited. The most important thing that attracts great product people is a strong product vision, right? People should be excited about the problems you're trying to solve. And, you know, that's the number one thing that excites great engineers and great people. Man, I want to solve sending rocket ships to space with, you know, consumers. Like, that is a hard problem, but it's a fun one, and it can attract people to it. So you want to have a strong vision. And I love to, you know, I've started this technique now where when I'm interviewing people, I let them do more of the talking than me, because I want to understand what they care about and what they're passionate about and how they go about solving problems. Now, coaching is going to be your primary job in doing this. And the way I transition knowledge, so you're going from a CEO to hiring a product manager, remember, for them to do their job well, you have to trust them that they are contributing the same passion and energy about the problems, the customer, the business, the data, the knowledge. They won't know this on day one. So I invest my first 3 months, 3 to 6 months, in coaching the product manager. Take them out on every customer meeting you go on. Involve them in the day-to-day decisions. If you work with a team of people, find your sales reps that, you know, you might work with. Let them engage with them, your marketing team, other parts of the business. You know, invest in their onboarding, invest in the learning that they will have to do in the early stages, because what you're doing there is you're exposing them to the user, the customer, the problems, but also how the organization works. Part of that outcome should be they should become passionate about it. But they're not passionate because they love product. They're passionate about your business and the problems you're trying to solve. And that allows you to trust them because you understand how they learn the knowledge. It allows you to empower them and give them some autonomy and freedom. And it also gives them trust within their team to be successful, because the team said, whoa, They spent time with Bill for 3 months. They traveled with Bill. Bill logs them. Everything they know, Bill must have taught them. So the team trusts them with the decisions, right? So it's always a super important technique for me to personally invest in the coaching and onboarding of new product managers, because it equips them with the trust and the capabilities they need to do their job well. Did that help, Bill?
Excellent. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for the question, Bill, and thanks, Christian. Just a heads up, we've got lots of questions, so we may go past one. Christian, if you've got some time, if not, just let me know. But
that's fine.
I'm going to keep rolling here. David Catalano, you're up next.
Great, thank you. Thanks for taking my question. So, Christian, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but you said something to the effect that designers, engineers, product managers kind of work in serendipity on the problems and the solutions. But can you create a little daylight in the role of a product manager and that of UX practitioners, whether they're doing product design or user research?
Oh, okay. So this modern day times, we look for many companies look for what they call like pie chip designers or full stack designers, so that they are not just experts on research or experts on visual design, but they can also do interaction design and some visual design. They might have a core set of competencies or expertise in one area, but they can kind of do it all, right? They can talk to customers very well, kind of do some good research and get meaningful insights. Then they can do the visual design or translate that into interactions. Now, to be clear about the role, remember I said the product manager, there are 4 risks for a business, right? Value, usability, feasibility, and viability. The product manager is tackling value and viability. What are we going to do? Is this solving the problem? Will people buy it or choose it? And does it work for the business? The designer is tackling usability. Design is not just about look and feel, it's how it works. How do we actually go about solving the problem? How does somebody experience the totality of this solution? The difference between a Honda Accord and a Rolls Royce, they are both cars. They both, in a highway, Google will tell you they'll both get you to your destination at the same time. But people pay a premium for it because of what they deem as the experience of the value. Oh, it feels good. People like me when I'm in a Rolls Royce. I have status. It's expensive. I like the leather. The combination of all of those factors is beyond the look and feel, but how they are attributing value to it. You're paying $300,000 for a Rolls Royce, but $30,000 for a Honda Accord. And they both get to the airport at the same time. But you're equating 10 times more value to it because of how well you believe the design allows you to experience that value. It is the best 30-minute ride to the airport, right? So when they walk in serendipity, if you think about it, I am saying to you, let's talk to customers together, designer and engineer, and we're saying, wow, this is a hard problem for us to solve. And we're thinking through how we go about solving the problem, but we have to validate that we have the best solution to that problem. This might mean that the designer might prototype some options. We might take it to customers and look at it. And as we're talking to customers, the engineer is saying, well, I like that you like that design, but there's no way we can build it, right? So, in a handoff scenario, the product manager gives it to design works in a silo, they give it to engineering, and engineering says, well, good luck to this, we can build it. Now, the sadder part about this is when you already have time baked. Well, we've already committed to the business that we're going to deliver this in 3 months. And so the engineer now looks for the fastest solution, not the best solution. So the serendipity that comes, that moment of we are all together saying, this is the best solution that solves the problems for our customers in a meaningful way. The designer said people will love using it. The process in which it works is amazing. And the engineer said, man, we can build this and we can use the coolest technology to do it, so we are innovative. That's the magic that comes in here. All of these rules are super important to doing good product work. Okay?
Thanks so much, Christian. Next up, Jessica Allison. Jessica, you're up.
Hey, Christian, both Travis and I from Product Tank joined. I think
Hey.
Family, we might be your biggest following in Richmond. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
My question is, say I have lucked into a product manager role and you've talked about some of the qualities I need, What should I look for in that coach, my product coach or mentor?
Yeah.
What should I seek out? And how do I know when I found that?
Oh, goodness.
Don't end up on the wrong side of that Ben Horowitz quote.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right. The coaching piece really hurts me a whole lot. Now, fortunately for us, Matty Kagan is going to be coming out with a new book, hopefully by Christmas, called Empowered, that is really going to talk about this topic a whole lot. And I've had a chance to go through the book several times and contribute. It's such an important topic, because when you think about the number one role for managers should be coaching. The personal and professional development of their people. When I think about a manager in a company, I expect that your job should be go out and find, recruit, and hire the most talented people or the most important people for our organization, and then coach those people to competence or excellence, right? And then align those people with the why. That's kind of all I kind of think about managers. Now, ideally, your coach should be your manager. Part of why I like that is because they also have skin in the game, right? And unfortunately, you see most managers measure their success on team results. Launch the product. Managers should measure their success on, I got Jessica promoted. Jessica evolved. Jessica is now a CEO. She's now right? Because again, if you ask people, what's the number one reason people leave companies? Many people are always quick to answer, a bad manager. It is statistically true. Now, if that is the case, then that to some extent is saying a good manager is one in which people don't leave the company, right? And so to some extent, that happens because they are making an investment in your development and growth. So there are many tools I use. If your manager is not having consistent one-on-ones with you, or if your one-on-ones are status updates, all you're doing is giving me an update on what you're working on and not based on, I care about you and your growth and your personality, you don't have a coach, right? The idea about your manager as a coach is saying, all right, remember the things I talked about, product skills, process skills, people skills? Well, let's talk about your job. What do you need to be successful here? Well, this is how I feel about my customer knowledge. I think I should be a 9, but I'm at a 5. And so your manager's job is, how do I get you from a 5 to a 9? How do I support you in moving that? You go down that list. I pick the things that are important there, and my time with you is laser focused on your growth and your development, right? And so those are the kinds of things you look for in a coach, in the things you look for. Now, that's different from a mentor that gives you 1 hour a month and gives you advice and stuff. A coach is tactical and hands-on with you. They are like walking the plan with you for your growth. And you don't have a coach if it's competition. Like your coach is looking for credit and like, who did this? I did. My team did. Like, your coach is excited about your success and celebrates and appreciates that, because they understand that the measure of their success is your success, right? So that's the difference in that dynamic. Focused on it. They are doing a one-on-one. They are helping you with your skills assessment. They are coaching you along the gaps, and they are supporting you throughout that process. I know, there are not very many out there, but part of it is because it's not been very clear to people what should be expected of a leader of product managers.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Christian. Moving on to Ann Milbauer. Ann, you're up if you want to ask Christian a question.
I do. Hi, Christian. Thank you. So you talked a little bit about using data to help you with your prioritization. Can you talk a little bit more about how you ascertain that data and then use it?
Well, the meaningful part about data is to some extent the questions that you ask, and what you're looking for. I've seen what I call smart dumb companies, companies that have a tremendous amount of data but cannot leverage it. If you think about data, using data to make decisions is kind of what we call that product analytics. There's now using data to inform how you create value or build data products. That's kind of data science in some ways. Getting that data requires an investment, but in some ways you have to understand the importance of it to make that investment. The importance of it is that in the absence of it, to some extent, we are guessing or we're trusting our gut. And we have no way to validate that what we're doing is the most important thing, and now is the most important time, and this is making a meaningful impact on our customers and our users. I see way too many products that go out, and I often joke, you don't have a product if you cannot measure the outcome of that product. You just don't. I build this. Well, are customers happy? I don't know. Did it improve engagement? I don't know. Did it drive revenue? I don't know, but I built it, right? And so for a team to shift, to become a truly empowered team, for you to make that shift, to be measured on outcome, you have to be able to leverage data in a meaningful way. So it requires an investment in your organization, being able to have instrumentation. If you not have instrumentation, you cannot collate the data, you cannot do analysis on the data, you cannot go into decision science, and you cannot even go into data products. So the most important foundation is instrumentation, being able to track behavior on your product, being able to measure the impact of the work that you do. Okay, there are many tools out there for instrumentation. You know, I don't have a prescription for one tool, but if you ask yourself, we build this, how does it affect this? If you cannot answer that question, you don't have instrumentation, right? And so you have to say, let's go make an investment in instrumenting the ability to collect this data. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask one more question?
Yep, go for it, Anne.
Can you talk a little bit more about the topic on tackling the risk and the best way to do that?
So the way we tackle risk is what we call product discovery, right? You have to discover if the solution you're building is valuable, viable, usable, and feasible. And there are many techniques we use for doing this. We have several discrete modern product teams do, right? You know, in terms of framing your work, in organizing and planning your work with a user story map, with a customer development program, being able to go through kind of rapid A/B testing. Prototyping is the master technique we use to go fast, kind of to fake it before we make it. We use prototyping, and this is why I love our product designers, because they help us go fast and in answering those questions. If you think about it, your commitment is saying, I will never build anything if I am not sure with evidence that people want it and that it actually solves the problem in a meaningful way, and that people will use it, and that we know how to build it. Often what happens is that we're doing discovery during delivery. We are learning about what we need while we are delivering what we've already committed. Right? This is why cycles take too long. Leadership gets frustrated. We miss dates. We get frustration throughout the process, and we lose trust in a business because we are discovering, meaning we're tackling the risk. I'm trying to build this stuff, but I need clarity. I have questions. I need another meeting. We're doing discovery while we're doing delivery.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Anne. Stephen Veers, are you still with us?
Yeah, I am. Thanks, Nick. Hey, Christian, thank you. This is a great presentation. So more of a tactical question, I guess. Have you ever been in a situation where the product manager did not have the final say in what to do or build next? And if so, how did you fix the situation and establish one true and clear tiebreaker?
Of course. I don't know if I've truly, if you're in product, somewhere inside of you, you actually know you don't have the final say. Like it's a weird dynamic. You do, but the dynamic here is like, you know, you're not the CEO. There are so many people that can veto stuff here. That's why you lead by influence in here. Now, two aspects to your question to make it very clear. You know, the first piece is what the product manager contributes. The reason you're able to kind of say what we should do or make a decision around that is because everybody trusts you that, oh, you know the customer better than anybody else. You know the data, you know the business, you understand what's important. Now, the number one reason teams are not empowered is trust. I just don't trust you that you know these things, or that you contribute these things, or that, and trust is predicated on competence and character. You're a good person, but I don't really know if you know, or if you understand those things very well enough. The second part that we just talked about is data. And the mantra is data beats opinions. You know, I always joke to people, I never tell people no. I always tell people, oh, it's a great idea. It is my job to validate. So if someone comes to me and tells me, hey, I don't really think we should build this, to some extent, I want to welcome their ideas, but the way I break any tie is with data and with customer insights. You know, I am notorious for taking CEOs out. When a CEO says, I want to build, oh, great idea. I take them out to go talk to a customer and from them to hear the no from a customer. See, what I'm doing there is I want them to know my process. You mean every time I tell you to do something, you go validate with customers? But then at the same time, I want them to know, like, I use customer insights and data. After a while, they stop trying to tell you what to do. And they start saying, you know, what do you think about this? You know, if you do say no, they'll be like, well, I'm sure he must have talked to customers. I'm sure he must have used data, right? So you need to double down when this is happening. You need to double down on your customer insight. Be loud about customers. The way you tell people you know customers is just by telling stories. Don't go tell people, I know customers. No, just say, hey, you know, last week I was talking to these customers. Share your learning. Rinse and repeat every day. People are going to be like, wow, he doesn't talk for himself. He kind of talks for the customer. And then share data. Customer insights and data will trump any tiebreaker within a company. Okay? Good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. And rounding it out, coming back to Michael. Michael, if you still want to ask the second part of your question, that'll be the last one for the day.
Yes, thank you. I want to take on Anne's question regarding product discovery. I see a lot of companies managing quite well an existing product portfolio, but where I think product managers struggle is with creative ways for the product innovation process to come up with new ideas. What do you see are best practices in Silicon Valley to really walk the walk on that end?
Yeah, so particularly ideation, coming up with new ideas. Yeah. I mean, my favorite stuff is customer interviews. Has always been my favorite way of coming up with new ideas, particularly because spending time with customers not just stirs the passion and excitement about it, but if you truly connect with a problem and you do that with your team, I have not met companies that are short on ideas. Ideas are very cheap and available. Most of the time is the ability to translate the idea to a meaningful solution in a meaningful way that people struggle with. But, you know, I love customer interviews. I know many companies do hackathons, public APIs. They open up their network for other people to build on it. You know, kind of hack days. You know, the number one source of innovative ideas in all of these companies you love, engineers. Get your engineers involved early. You know, because they know what's possible with technology. Look, your customers don't even know how to solve their problems. You know, they know their problems and they can articulate them, probably not very well sometimes, but you can see. But, you know, when you get engineers involved, you know, you pick it, whether it's Alexa or iPhone or Spot, all of those ideas came from engineers. So get your engineers involved super early with customers and let them surprise you with their ingenuity.
Very good.
Good. And, you know, you can read the book Inspired. You can get on our blog, svpg.com. We have articles on this. We probably tackle all of the topics we talked about here deeply. And I'm happy to connect with you. My email is there too as well if anyone has questions.
Well, Christian, this has been fantastic. I think this is the first one that we've ever had to go beyond 1 o'clock for. So I appreciate you spending a couple extra minutes here. And I also appreciate the audience for great questions. It certainly made my job a lot easier today. Christian, great content all around. We have this recorded, so we will put this up on our website as well for others. And I really appreciate your time and your expertise today. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. Thank you all. Everyone stay safe.